Hello and welcome back to day three. Day three. I don't know what I was getting ready to say, but I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me for day three. I have to tell you that there is a lot of information today. I'm going to present you with a ton of info. Again, just take it in, focus on what you feel resonates with you. Any knowledge that you have is just going to make your experience better. Because remember, we're going through this midlife transition. There's so much we don't know. So any little bit helps. So just take in what you can. The nice thing is that you have access to this video. You can go back and rewatch it anytime you want. We're going to go ahead and jump in because, like I said, I don't want to waste your time, but you can always reach out to me. Email me if you have any questions about the information that was presented, or if you want to book a chat, we can book a chat and talk about your specific situation and how we can get you feeling your absolute best self, because there are ways of doing it. We can't solve all the problems, but we can definitely reduce some of the issues that you're experiencing. So like we said, the more you know, the better you do. And that's all we can focus on right now, is we're going through this new stage of life that we're not really too familiar with and no one's really talking about. So I'm glad you're here. This is important. So let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. We're going to jump right on into this. I'm going to get myself out of the way. I don't want to watch myself. Welcome to day three. Here we go. All right, so before we jump right into the gut microbiome, let's go back a little bit about, let's talk about, in menopause, your gut flora changes. So when, basically, what does that mean? What does my gut flora changing mean? Well, that's a decrease in the amount of good bacteria, and those changes start to create issues with your overall gut health. So as we head into midlife, one of our top priorities has to be maintaining good gut health. And when you do that, it will result in increasing that hormonal balance and your mental clarity, right? Because that's really what we're focusing on. So we talked a little bit on Tuesday, on day one. What were the symptoms of brain fog? Fatigue, slow thinking, unable to, organize yourself, forgetfulness, lack of concentration. Maybe you're having problems processing a thought or completing a sentence. You're feeling a little spacey, you're disconnected. And so those are some of the things that we want to look at with regard to symptoms of brain fog. So what we want to do today is we want to tie in and focus on the connection between gut health and our brain health. So your gut microbiome has several roles and functions. Basically, its job is to enhance digestion and food absorption, to regulate and strengthen your immunity, to protect from pathogens, to turn those nutrients into energy sources, including cell repair, and to communicate with the brain. So when we put all of this food into us, most of us, we try to eat pretty healthy, living by that 80-20 rule. And when we do that, obviously we want the payoff, right? If I'm going to opt for a salad over a big old hamburger and French fries, man, I better get the benefits of having that salad in my belly, which means that my gut is turning all of that good stuff into nutrients that's going to fuel my body. It's going to make me feel my best. It's going to enhance my athletic performance. However, if you're having issues with gut health, you're not going to get the benefits out of that. And so it does affect your brain health as well. So your brain is dependent on your gut microbiomes to regulate the function between the process and the mood, right? Processing and the mood. And one of the things we talk about a lot is the vagus nerve, right? And that vagus nerve serves as a critical role in communication between the gut health, or between the gut microbiome and your brain. So this vagus nerve is super important between what's going on in our belly and what's going on in our mind. So some of the things that, if you're struggling, or if you notice that there's a disconnect between the communication between the gut and the brain, these are some of the things that you want to look for, that are signs telling us that there's a struggle There's something wrong with the communication between those two. So if you notice an increase of fatigue or sleepiness after meals, and this is common, not like Thanksgiving meal, but we're talking about just general meals. If you're noticing an increase in fatigue or sleepiness, if you're noticing that you're struggling with chronic brain fog or trouble concentrating, chronic gas, bloating, inflammation, if you're struggling with constipation or the opposite, diarrhea, if you're struggling with sensitivity to smell or fumes, if you're struggling with a sudden weight gain or even a sudden weight loss, chronic hives, rashes, skin issues, intolerances in foods that maybe you didn't struggle with before, chronic headaches, joint pain can also be an issue if your gut and brain are not talking to each other properly. Poor gut health can also affect your training. And so this is why you might not be seeing those desired results that you're working so hard for, or you're struggling from recovering from a workout. If you notice that you're struggling with that, or you're not seeing the results, there could be something going on with that gut health. Your brain health, your gut health, and your athletic performance are all linked together. So I tell people all the time, those are super important. And if you're noticing a disconnect somewhere, these are some of the things that we want to look at. Those tiny organisms in your gut play a major role in your exercise performance, all the way from your energy to your recovery. So what could some of these symptoms mean? Like if you notice that you're struggling with some of the symptoms I mentioned before, which would be that increased fatigue after eating, brain fog, chronic gas and bloating, any of those things, skin issues, irritations, food intolerances, joint pain, those symptoms can mean that your gut is either inflamed or you're having leaky gut syndrome. Basically, the toxins are seeping out and going into your blood. That's never good. It could be that you need a detox support. And I'm not saying like buy detox teas or go on a detox. I'm just saying that your body might need a little bit of a detox, and you can do that naturally without having to buy anything or do anything outside of just kind of limiting, foods that are causing issues. And that's something we could get into, definitely. If you're like, Mia, maybe I do need a little detox, we can get into specifics. Maybe if you feel like your microbiome is unbalanced, if you are having food sensitivities that you didn't have before, it could be that you are missing certain nutrients. So sleep, gut health, energy, and performance are all interlinked. And so these are the things that we really want to make sure that we're paying close attention to. So what can you do? One of the things I tell people all the time is see if you can get a functional test. Like ask your doctor if you feel like you're suffering from this. You've got to identify the root cause of your symptoms. So I tell people all the time, you can put Band-Aids on it. You can throw darts in the dark. We can just throw things and see what sticks, but we really need to find what the root cause is. Once we can find the root cause, then we can eliminate this instead of just constantly putting a Band-Aid on it. You want to make sure that you're creating a plan to correct those imbalances. I tell people all the time, I work with gut health. So you can definitely, we can work together to kind of figure out what's going on. With my knowledge and expertise, it's much faster than, doing it alone, and you're able to get your life back. But the biggest thing is when you're working with me as your coach, you're going to learn a little bit more about your body. And I think that's really what's important here. Again, we don't want to just put Band-Aids on the situation. We actually want to solve the problem. We want to make sure that we are feeling better. So those are some of the things that you can do. So for those of you, and I say, athletes, and so many times people are like, well, I'm not an athlete. Like I don't do, these high, I don't sign up for Spartans, or I don't participate in an Ironman or whatever it is. If you are moving your body, if you are staying physically active, you are an athlete, and you don't have to have a gold ribbon to qualify to use the term athlete. So yes, you are athletes. And when we put that time in at the gym or our group classes or with a personal trainer, and it's not just time, it's money, it's energy, it's all of that. we want to have the payoff for that. So when you focus on improving your gut health, it's going to also help you with your athletic performance. It's going to reduce that inflammation. Do you know how many times I've had clients be like, man, I ate terrible last night. I just don't have the energy. Like, I feel bloated. I don't feel comfortable doing, certain fitness moves. It just doesn't feel good. We're going to reduce the inflammation when we focus on that gut health. We're going to boost our energy levels. We're also going to improve our mental strength. That's one of the things. If we're able to focus on improving our gut health, we're going to notice a huge impact in our brain health as well. Focusing on improving your gut health is also going to help with body composition, which means we're reducing the amount of body fat. We're increasing the amount of muscle mass. We're strengthening our bones. Our body is absorbing all of those amazing nutrients that we're giving it, and it's using it. So it's not even absorbing it, it's also using it. So we're getting the payback, tenfold. It's going to help with our hydration. It's going to improve our sleep. It's going to give us that nice antioxidant defense system, if I can talk. Basically, what does that mean? That's going to help when you exercise. Remember, you are, slowly you're breaking down your muscles. Well, that's going to help repair them so that you're staying injury free. That is super important for recovery and being able to go at it again. So really focusing on reducing physical fatigue, improving our overall exercise performance. So having a positive gut microbiome, having a good gut microbiome, what does that mean? What is a healthy microbiome that you keep talking about? Basically, it's just having a diverse microbiome. How do we do that? Eating a healthy diet is one way to create that diverse microbiome. So I tell people, start to try different foods and new things, and really focus on, how can I take my nutrition to that next level and really fuel my body. So there's more research being done on the connection between the brain and the gut, because they are starting to notice that there's such a huge impact, not only on our athletic performance, but just in general, because we have that huge communication. So back in the day, they would tell us that, your brain was basically the command center, right? Your brain was the thing that did all the work, and it was the central command center. And with all the research that they've done, they've started to realize that actually the gut is the command center. And there's such a huge connection between the gut and the brain that we have this thing called the gut-brain axis. And so really focusing on improving the communication between the two. And like I said, when you're in menopause, your gut flora changes. And we want to make sure that we're putting gut health at the top of our priority list when it comes to improving those overall midlife symptoms. So I really want people to focus on how can I improve the communication with that vagus nerve between my gut and my brain. And the biggest way to do that is really focusing on how does your gut feel? If you're struggling with any of those symptoms, like the brain fog, like the bloating, like the gas, if you feel like you are fatigued, if you feel like your performance is not where it should be, where it was before, if you feel like you're struggling with those things, then yeah, that's definitely a clue that there's something going on in the gut, and that's gonna affect how you feel overall. So I tell people all the time, the best way to solve a lot of midlife issues is starting with nutrition, because once we're able to use nutrition to make our gut feel good, to decrease that inflammation throughout the body, to decrease that bloating, and to improve the communication between our gut and our brain, we're going to see a huge decrease in all of the symptoms, including insomnia and joint pain. And so one of the things I offer for my clients is the mind body solution. And this is perfect for improving gut health, but also improving brain health. So that's one of the things. If you're noticing that you're struggling and you're starting after looking at day one's information about what are some symptoms of brain health or brain fog, and if you're like, man, yeah, I noticed a lot of those, and that concern with Alzheimer's connection. And then on day two, if you started to look at some of those issues that maybe you're having at work or at home, where it's affecting your concentration or your confidence in your ability to do your job the way you had done it in the past, if you're noticing that you're really struggling with those things, the first place I would say is let's go ahead, let's look at your sleep, let's look at your stress, but really let's look at your diet. Let's go really deep into your diet and figure out, are you noticing that you have food intolerance that you didn't notice before? Are you noticing a lot of inflammation? Are you noticing skin issues, whether it's dry skin, rashes, hives, eczema, new acne that you haven't had before? Are you noticing that you're having joint pain? It could be in your hands, your knees. Are you noticing constant fatigue? All of this sudden weight gain can be related to your gut. And once we clear up your gut health, man, then you're really going to see the positives in your brain health and being able to kind of get through. I love the word, you're going to sail through menopause, not necessarily, but it is definitely going to make things a lot easier. So if you're starting to notice those struggles, I'll send you some information about the Mind Body Solutions program. It's fantastic. It's 4 weeks. It goes into really focusing on how to improve your gut by doing a lot of self-inventory. So I'll get into all of that because it's so detailed. But hopefully you got some great information out of the last 3 days, because there's so many things that we want to do, right? We want to feel good. We want to feel confident. I want to feel confident at home. I want to feel confident in my job. I want to feel confident in my performance. I want to make sure that if I'm doing all of these great things for my body, like prioritizing sleep and making sure that I'm prioritizing, the best diets, nice, clean eating, 80% of the time, because I love snacks just as much as everybody else, and queso and pizza and all that. And if I'm showing up at the gym every single day and I'm putting in the time and the energy and the work, I want the payoff, which means I feel good. My body is working at optimal levels. And I feel confident in my skin. And so again, if you are struggling with any of those, let's chat and figure out, what's a good plan moving forward to solve some of those issues you might be struggling with. All right, y'all, that is it. I know it's a ton of information, but there are so many ways to help you clear up some of these issues that you might be struggling with. Brain fog is one of the top on the list from women that I get all the time. One of the things that I love is when you focus on one symptom of menopause and are able to really hone in and decrease the issues that come along with it, you start to notice that spirals into other areas. And you're like, man, I was looking to solve brain health, but I also solved, or brain fog, but I also solved these other things too. So I think it's really cool because it really is all interconnected. Your hormones are so, they're those communicators, and they're so important when it comes to your brain health and your gut health. So that's where I tell people to start with. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will send you that invite to this, to the Mind Body Solutions program. It is absolutely amazing. I've had several women go through it that have come out on the other side as new individuals. It's awesome to hear their stories, and celebrate how great they feel. And again, it's just having a little bit of knowledge makes life so much better. So the more we do, the better. The more we know, the better we do. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And again, reach out to me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will be in touch soon.